Hi everybody, what's up? I am Lady Stars and Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa, and this is the weekly healing messages for August 24th through September 4th. This is the week right after the eclipse. Now, before I go into anything else I'm going to say about this video, because for those of you who follow me, you know I usually will give you what Spirit has given me for this upcoming week for guidance. That's why I call it the healing messages, to help us move forward in the most positive healing ways within our life. And I give you the information that Spirit has given us, as well as astrology, and possibly some runes. However, that's not exactly working out quite that way, because I actually have some tarot cards I'm going to be giving you this week instead of runes, and I will bring back the runes a few days later. I just really feel I want to wait until like Tuesday to do the runes, that I need to wait until the moon is out of Scorpio, basically. Now, before I go into any of that, with that solar eclipse, I've been coming across so many people who have been saying afterwards, and even maybe leading up to it, that they were just feeling so sluggish, having that flu-like symptoms, the earaches, the sneezing, the coughing, the headaches, the nausea from smells especially, over emotional, maybe bloating, maybe you're in the bathroom a little bit more than usual, and just all the way around feeling really weird, or hot flashes or cold flashes, and you're not really sure why, because you don't really have anything wrong with you. Now, by all means, I am not a doctor, and I always tell everybody, if you think you have an illness and that you need to visit a doctor, please go visit a doctor. I just pass on what I am given. And I had been told that after the solar eclipse, a lot of people were feeling that energy, not just a feeling energy, but feeling that sluggish feeling and all of that other feelings that are going on, because their chakras are being cleaned out. And when you're being cleaned out, that means those lower vibrations are coming up and out of you, and that's what's causing that funky-do feeling. However, some people, it's not necessarily the chakras, it's more of along the line of you've moved into a newer, higher dimension, and that also calls for the emotional status. And this is more or less a recalibration, which goes along with what's going on with this week's healing messages. But I wanted to let that out, and if I start sneezing myself, that's because I too am going through that as well. But again, this is for August 24th through September 4th. Now, I'm going to go over everything that astrology said, but before I forget, the moon starts off in Scorpio, which means everything is intense, highly intense. We're highly emotional. We're very curious, and we want to know everything about everything, but the intensity can also drive you a bit mad if you let it. And that would be for Sunday and Monday, because in Scorpio we feel everything: good, bad, love, joy, betrayal, anger, fear. Everything comes out a whole nother level of sensitivity, and that's why I want to wait for the runes until after that. But then the moon moves into Sagittarius, where we're a little bit more willing to take a chance, a little bit more adventurous, basically. And then we go into Capricorn, where we're more, let me look at the foundation and let me see if this is what's right, and we're a little bit more methodical. We can be a little bit more, it's about foundation, it's about growing a good security, is what Capricorn is about. But then I wanted to remind you, before I get into anything else, the planet Mercury is going to go direct next Tuesday on September 5th. Yes, we've been in retrograde, and I'm telling you that about the retrograde right now, because we're on that last week of this retrograde, and this is a major retrograde. We're going to get some major information coming to us this week from Mercury itself, but it all depends on how you choose to deal with it, basically. But that's always what free will is about. Saturn also went direct this week, or just went direct last week, which means where you were all, your walls were up inwardly, and your rules and your boundaries that you've been evaluating and everything now have gone outwardly, and now you're starting to put those into new experiences, new efforts, new starts between your rules, your boundaries, and your own personal walls. For whatever reason you have them. This information is very important as I get into the astrology, but I wanted to tell you that before I got any further. Now, the Tree of Life actually is speaking to us this week as far as the medium and shamanic work goes. Because I'm being shown the Tree of Life, and I'm trying to figure out how to explain it best. This is why I brought my cards out. But when I went to pull the cards so that I could use the card, because this is the deck I'm using, it's Earth Magic. But when I went to use this deck because I wanted this picture of the Tree of Life to go with this, is when I was told basically to pull those cards for this video this week. The Tree of Life is speaking to me, and the best way I can do it is by using the card. And it's saying roots. Everything right now is about your roots. What are your roots? Where are you from? Who are you within the roots of where are you from? Even your karmic, where are you from? Because we're going to be really starting to feel that energy coming in. However, I'm seeing, and they're showing me the roots, they're telling me about the roots, but then it completely shifts. We don't even see the trunk at all. And all we see is the top of the Tree of Life, is the way the tree is showing me. Now, as I ask questions, I'm getting more or less this. They are starting to circle around the top of the tree and the bottom of the tree. Become one. Okay? And it's no longer the roots versus the top. They coincide. Just like in this image. You can see the flowers up here in the tree, and you can see the roots. However, if you flip it over, it still kind of looks like a different style tree. The tree is one. It's a never-ending cycle, is what they're telling me. The cycle of life itself, or lives within one life, or lives if you believe in additional lives, are never-ending, basically, is what they're saying to me. And they're speaking about us searching through what is those lives. But on a deeper level, they're speaking to us of what is in the Tree of Life, our personal Tree of Life for us. What is it that we start to realize is part of that matrix, part of our personal DNA, part of our ascension, within those dimensions, within our chakras. This is not junk DNA. This is just what technically we're not intelligent enough to explain yet. And this is what the Tree of Life is saying, is what's going on this week is those cycles upon cycles upon cycles. You live in the physical world. Yes, you can't get away from the physical world. You must stay part of the physical world. However, you are in several worlds at one time, within several dimensions, cycles upon cycles, rebirthings, deaths, and continuously going as you mature and you grow spiritually, is what I'm being told. However, this week speaks to us of them coming together into a brand new cycle, or at least the metamorphosis of starting a new cycle. And a dragonfly just sat down in front of me. I can't show you it, but I swear it did. For those of you who know your animal medicine. This has to do with renewal, with nourishing yourself, your soul, with bringing to life the creating of what it is you wish to create, manifesting, and how to actually start to bring it into reality. This also speaks to us of those cycles and the dance of life itself, because I am being told dancing, 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 dancing. Dancing reminds us of our own self-expression, of our independence, our joy, of helping us to work through things and let go of the negativity and stop holding on to things that are so harsh and making life rougher than it has to be. you need to be looking into, you know, the dance of life and the enjoyment of it, and the soulfulness of it. Because I'm getting told that that cycle of the tree of life, the cycle of your own DNA, the cycle of those dimensions and the ascension and your chakras within healing and your own DNA within you is like your own personal map. And basically I'm being told, you know, get lost on that road and get right with soul, is what they're saying right now. And then as I go a little bit further, I was brought to one of the 72 angels. There's 72 angels that are considered to be the angels of God, or of God's names. And when you get into those 72 angels, they also have one of those 72 angels basically owns every single week of every single year, and those are the guardian angels as well. And the angel that is being brought to my attention for this week, which makes perfect sense, if I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me, is Hi-A-Ah, or Hi-A-Ah. And he's one of the 72 angels, and he is the angel of ambition, but he's also the angel of defense, of diplomacy, and of truth. And channel him this week, basically, if you need it. Because with the energies that's going on, he may be able to help you find the truth in the situation, the diplomacy within the situation, how to defend yourself and protect yourself within the situation, as well as finding the ambition to go on with what it is you need to. He can help remove those negativities if you ask. However, you must ask. And I know, because I was born to this angel, and so this angel is very, very good and very positive for you, but if you do not ask, he will not help. So that has to do with free will. So again, that angel's name, if I'm pronouncing it right, because I've never heard him say it, is Hi-A-Ha, Hi-A-Ya. I'm also given, as far as animal medicine this week, for those who come into that, I am given both the snail and the inchworm. And the snail speaks to me specifically of, shamanically, the snail speaks to us of creating, of the ability to be able to create. It also speaks to us of the yod and Hebrew. However, most people think snails and are like, ew, or worms and are like, ew, but they have very important medicine, as far as, you know, medicine, like spirit animal medicine, spirit guides, on that line. And the snail is a much cleaner animal than you think it is. I know that it leaves its slimy trail behind, but what you're not realizing, in that slimy trail is everything that was not healthy to it. It just unloaded it. It left it behind. It will not carry a vibration of something that is not good for it with it. It will let it go. Snail speaking to us of being able to have that positive energy, letting go of what's not serving you, and moving forward, because there are people who are still having problems with that. And the inchworm is speaking to us of the renewal. And when you renew yourself, your life, your soul, your new beginnings, well, you don't want to pull the baggage along with you. But I'm also being shown, and this is what really got me, is I'm being shown the inchworm. You know, you think of worms being in the ground. You think of them recycling because, you know, they clean up the earth. Even though they're small and whatnot, underneath the earth, they clean up the earth. They help bring fertilization. They help, you know, the earth in many ways. So it's a cycle itself of being positive and fertile and healthy, and helping the earth itself. But what I'm being shown is that above land, and is bringing in awareness to that. Because when we think of the worm and we think of the snail, we both think of, or actually it's the slug, we both think of them as just ew little things, but they're fragile, is what you would think. You think of them as being exposed. You think of them as vulnerable. And this is talking to us about finding our power through that vulnerability in positive ways. You can always go back and look up what the animal medicine is. Now, as I get into the rest of the week, because I've given alchemy and alchemy symbols, which are dealing mainly with like iron and gold and silver and whatnot. And I'm going to explain that in just a second, because that's actually going to put us right into astrology, because I wouldn't have seen that in astrology had they not pointed me to it that way, and I believe that they're going together. But before I do that, I am going to show you the cards that came up. I'm not going to go through exactly what they all mean, but you can get a good idea. Full moon is what came up with completion, the death of letting go of something, new beginnings, the end of one thing, the beginning of the other is what showed up. Then the eagle and communion is what showed up. And then I was given waterfall and effortless. Now, this specific one is incredibly heavy. And it's not heavy in a low vibration, but it's very heavy and it's very hot in my hands. Literally with water like feeling like it's running through it. Which is saying this is a healing, effortless thing. As long as we're not so in our feelings that we screw ourselves up. Basically, this should be an effortless, joyful, new beginning. Basically, and I'm feeling, you know, like you really need to hear this. Is what I'm feeling like, not like a vibration of pulling me down, but bring yourself into that right personality throughout this week, the right way of thinking this week. You need to be effortless. You don't need to be holding on to things that are keeping you from getting where you need to get. And last is dream time with creation, with bringing new things into creation. Now, back to alchemy, because then I'll go into the astrology. Alchemy, the very first thing that I am given is copper. Copper also speaks to us of the planet Venus. But in copper itself, it speaks to us of promoting energy that deals with teaching us how to promote our life and living it in a fulfilling way. Bringing the fulfillment of what it is we desire to life. Exactly. Fueling that energy to do so. But then I'm also given, which is going to speak to your sensitivities, is what this is telling you, of what it is that you truly need and enjoy for that fulfillment of your life. This also speaks to where I said we are talking to the roots of who we are. What helps you fulfill your life, your soulfully, so that you can enjoy life and be able to have that effortless life with a happy outcome. But then I'm being given iron. Now, iron is where it takes a little bit of its twist, but it will make sense in a minute. Iron speaks to us of Mars, the planet Mars. Mars, I say every time, Mars is our SWAT team. Mars is our inner defense system. It is our inner warrior. It is our action. It is our aggression. It is our fire. It is our protection. Okay? And Mars, dealing with alchemy and iron, speaks to us of our physical energy as well as our health. Okay? Our physical ability within our energy. Then I am given gold. Gold, though, in alchemy, speaks to us of the energy of the sun. But it also speaks to us of finding the perfection and that purity. And it aids within protection and knowledge to find the perfection and that purity. And lastly, I am given silver. And silver is the answer for the week. Because all of those are telling us what's going to be happening this week, but to see it also in that point of view. Silver speaks to us of the healing energy, of the healer, of the moon, of the truth from within. It speaks to us of our personal intuitions, our self-reflection, as well as our inner wisdom, and finding that true symbol within ourself of purity. Honey, you are a thoroughbred. You are a purebred, plain and simple. And don't you let anybody tell you any different or that you're less than anybody else. You may not believe it, however, you may need to start believing it. You are perfect, you are pure, deep in your soul. We all have some funky junk, man, we gotta clean out. I always say, I'm not one of those astrologers, and everything that's gonna give you the foo-foo, let me pretend that it's all good when it's really not. It is good, but you have to always work through your shit to get to the good. Now, as I go into this week within astrology, all of that alchemy is going to start making sense because we have a grand kite all week long. A grand kite speaks to us of setting and being able to start creating the manifestation of what could be considered as fate or new fate and bringing our destiny into light, basically. And that's the idea behind the grand kite. Now, the grand kite speaks of everything that alchemy was talking about, but I would have missed it because of the way that it's moving, because they're not necessarily connecting for this to show itself. Spirit had to go through alchemy to show me it so that they could then show me what in the world they were talking about. Mercury is moving from Virgo to Leo. It is going back because it is in retrograde. So it is going from your universal 6th house back into the 5th house. And in Virgo, it's the lie detector, the human lie detector, to point and figure it all out and let me sort it out and we'll create the healing from within, basically. And Mercury in retrograde is your communication talking inwardly to you. It is leaving the healer. It is leaving your human lie detector because it's going back into Leo this week. It's going back into Leo, which is your creative house. It's your sexual house. It's creativity, but it's also your passion. And it can be sexuality. It can also be children in a sense too. But it's moving back into this house, and it's moving closer to Mars, and it's moving closer to the North Node, and it's moving away from the sun. Okay, so it's talking about moving away from the perfection and the purity that can be found from protecting the knowledge from within. It is moving closer to our physical power of our energy to create. Are we using that defense system in the right way? Are you using your inner SWAT team to defend you in the right way, or are you just being powerful for the wrong reasons? Are you being aggressive for the wrong reasons? These are the things that, as long as you're staying in the positive way, this is going to be a very uploaded, positive energy to kickstart you into, moving forward. But if you're an ego, it's going to slow you down. And then, like I said, Mercury itself in alchemy is a flip-flop. Mercury itself in alchemy is a toxic metal. And that's your communication. It's a toxic metal that is associated with death. Letting go. Finishing one cycle. Like the card said, completion of one so that the new are starting. You're completing the ones and starting the new. But it's a toxic metal that is associated with death, but it's also associated with mystery and transformation, and that is what you need to be paying attention to. Death sometimes needs to die. Sometimes you need to let that shit go. There's a reason why it was left behind, and if you're holding on to it, like I said last week, you're just holding on to, instead of what's not serving you anymore and holding on to it and letting it beat you up, and guilt and emotional stress and denial and everything else, what you're really carrying around inside of you is rot. Sometimes death needs to happen within our lives. Sometimes things have to be let go of. We have to move away from things, and we have to start to transform and move forward. Again, you have Mercury moving out of Virgo, away from the healer, and into Leo, the lion, the fire, aggressive lion. However, the North Node is there. That speaks to us of having creativity, of doing everything for the right reasons, and the courage and the power to do everything for the right reasons. It speaks to self-service as well as service outwardly towards others. It speaks to you about creating yourself in positive ways and enjoying life and moving forward itself within that creative energy. But it's moving closer to Mars as it moves away from the sun, which is your core energy, and it moves into that aggressive fire, power, passion, which is a good thing as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, soulfully, not for ego reasons that will turn around and backfire on you. Now, that's just one area of this grand kite. That is the hidden part of what I wouldn't have seen because Spirit was pointing it out. That energy itself is speaking to Saturn, which is now gone direct in Sagittarius, sitting on top of Lilith. Lilith is, you can't make me do anything in the world that I don't want to do because I will do it as I damn well please. That's what Lilith is about. Lilith is also about your sexual energy, about, like I said, about your femininity, about bringing it into power, and nobody's going to take it away from Lilith. Okay? She is speaking directly to your rules and your boundaries and how to now exercise them outwardly instead of beating yourself up from learning the lessons inwardly, because Saturn just went direct. So it's about making that move, taking Mars's action and energy and passion and starting to set it into direction. And that is speaking to Uranus, which is in Aries, or Uranus, which is in retrograde. Your individuality, your inventive nature, your independence. It's about bringing your soulful, authentic self up and into the light for all the right reasons, and boldly being able to go with it and create from new, basically. And that is just the trine, okay? That is just the trine. Before we hit the actual kite, all of that energy is speaking to Jupiter, which is speaking to every relationship you have with anything, period. And I say all the time, relationships are your friends, your family, your loved ones. They're your pets, they're your car, they're your money. If you care about it, it's a relationship. Because when you have no money, you know all about your relationship with no money. Okay? Anything that you care about is a relationship to you. And Jupiter brings abundance to this situation, as well as knowledge. So this is fueling that to move forward in the most positive way, as long as you're doing it for soulful, positive reasons and not ego-driven, that is making you grow from the rot inside of you that you couldn't release and let go. Okay? Then that itself is speaking right back to Lilith, Saturn, which is in your Sagittarius, which is, let me take the chance and try it anyway. I've got the balls enough to experience it and try it, which is completely all in your spiritual universal house of who you are spiritually, of speaking to, stepping out and spiritually allowing people to see who you are and boldly overcome spiritual issues you had in your past, as well as religious and philosophy, basically. But this also speaks to us of, for those who are psychic, with your psychic energies. This also speaks to the strength of that growing within. And it's going right back to speaking to Leo with that creative energy. So it's just a big ball of growing creative energy. There is your snail, or your slug, as well. And like I said, it's so much positivity coming at you, but you don't want to allow it to make things lazy. It should be fated, it might be feeling like, but you want to make sure that you're fating it for the right reasons. Like I said, you don't want to be doing it from ego, of what you've been holding on to and growing something that's going to start a new cycle from the rot that is inside of you, from what you couldn't release and let go. Because then you're just going to start a whole new cycle that's going to end the same way until you finally learn the lesson. Now, we also have on our positives this week, because there's really not too much in astrology outside of that, because that's all week long. On our positives this week, before Mercury does jump back into Leo, you have the Sun and Mercury. Like I said, the Sun is talking to Mercury, which is in retrograde until next week, about our inner communication with ourselves, about what our core is, how we shine, how we are going to bring that into our core ability of life, and how we're going to be seen for it, within also healing our lives in the proper way. That energy in the sixth universal house is speaking to Juno in Capricorn. That's speaking before it jumps back, before Mercury jumps back into that fifth house with Leo. It is going to be speaking with Juno in Capricorn about, Juno is the commitment. Juno is where love truly lies. What love truly is. Love isn't just, I got the tingles in my tummy and I'm so excited about stuff. No, Venus is not love. Venus is your senses. What feels good, why it feels good, how to attract it so that you can keep having what feels good. And it also speaks to you about what does not feel good, what caused pain and why. Juno, on the other hand, is truly what the end of it comes down to, what it takes to create love, to create what you love in life. Juno in Capricorn is speaking to us about the sacrifice and the commitment it's going to take for the changes to take place within the foundations that we have created versus what needs to be created. Okay? And like I said, it is talking to your core energy. So that's also going to be talking to your ego and your soulfulness inwardly. You're going to be having some conversations with that this week. Now, as far as challenges, and we're done. Challenges is Venus is speaking to Venus, which is in Leo, in that creative house, is speaking to Uranus. And Uranus in Aries, which is your first house, which takes you right back to that core energy, how people first see you, how you first see you. It is the character of the self itself. And Venus is going to be in that touchy-feely conversation of what your senses are, making you acknowledge some things that you really love about yourself, and some things you really don't, and the reasons why. That is the root, honey, so that you can get to the healing deep in it. That's what those roots are, so that that cycle can start in a proper, healthy, healing way. Now, we also have Uranus, which is in Aries in that first house, is speaking to Jupiter under those challenges, which means it's going to be bringing up some of those situations within those relationships that are touchy, and how maybe we might be a little ego-driven instead of soulfully driven. So that we can start to learn how to stop doing that, so we can better our life. And it's also speaking to Pluto, which is in Capricorn, which is our 10th house universally, which is our community. So that's not just relationships, it's the community itself. And that's talking about death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, and regeneration. That is the change. Some of this stuff needs to change. Depending on how and what's going on in your life is how and what will change. And are you in the metamorphosis of death, decay, and destruction, change, or renewal, rebirth, and regeneration? Basically is the question that you need to ask yourself within your community and those relationships. Lastly, Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and he is in Pisces. He is in the 12th house universally, which is our unconscious, bringing our unconscious to conscious. And he is speaking directly to Lilith and Saturn about what it is Lilith, like I said, is you're not going to make me do anything I damn well don't want to do. And Saturn is all about the rules and boundaries. And like I said, Chiron is speaking to you about, well, as long as you don't want to do some of these things, and you don't want to make these changes, and you don't want to let go, well, then you're not going to get better. Things aren't going to get better, and you're not going to start the new cycle with a healthy new way. I love you. I hope that you have a wonderful week. I think that it should be a good week. You just can't let ego get you down, baby. Find the good. Like I said, I'm told over and over and over again. Dance. Find your reasons to dance, to express yourself in joyful, fun ways. Don't hold on to the shit that's keeping you from getting there. And also, if you need to, please, I am being told again, call on the angel Hiaya. That angel might be able to help you figure out some things you need to work through this week. However, you must ask. Hugs and kisses in the wind, and I will see you next week. I'll be back with the runes, or I'll just post them on Facebook later on this week and every place else social media. Bye!